On today's show, Clay and Cindy Cooper join us to introduce us to their new company and website, Speakshop.com. They've been partnering Spanish language students with instructors in Guatemala through their site and walk us through the perils and pitfalls of new product development, startups, and being the do-gooder in the era of globalization. All that and more today on Tuesday Noon for October 3rd, 2006. Welcome back to Tuesday Noon. We're here, another Tuesday, another noon.
Can you believe it?
I used to not be able to believe it, but now I can.
Although I'm a little sad today.
Tell me why.
Well, Mary's not here today.
I know.
And I have to look at you. And no offense.
No, but none taken.
Mary, Pete, Mary.
Obvious.
I mean, come on, dude.
Goes without saying.
So
Totally.
it's just not going to be the same. She's not sick today.
Is she sick, or is it her?
Yeah, her son's
She's home
sick.
tending to the wounded.
Yes.
The walking wounded.
Not her husband.
No.
Yeah, Xander.
No.
Her son.
So we hope Xander gets better. I think it's just the thing that's going
Do we give
around.
a shout out to Xander? We're thinking
Shout out,
about you,
big
buddy.
shout out to Xander. We hope you get better. We hope they can, patch you up.
You're in
patch
our
you up. It's a whole red badge of courage. So you better come in with like a headband with a big red spot on it,
Don't give your mommy too hard of a time.
Yeah.
We love you, Mary. We miss you.
Yes.
What do we have today?
I don't. Why'd you do that? You were supposed to do the intro.
Oh, did I say that?
Yes.
We actually have a couple of special guests today, and not special in terms of short bus special, but nice, genuinely very, very good people who are instructors for the University of Phoenix and also are doing some really cool stuff. We have Clay Cooper and Cindy Cooper. How you guys
Are they
doing?
married? Are you
Are you guys married?
Yeah.
You're brother and
I know, it's
sister?
crazy.
This is a business of convenience.
Yeah. You're not from Arkansas where you were brother and sister, and now you're no.
Separate parents.
Separate parents. Well, that's always good. So why don't you guys do a little introduction? Cindy, since you're on my left.
Okay,
I'm
well,
looking at you.
so yeah, that's pretty easy. I'm Cindy Cooper, and I helped found Speak Shop, which we're going to talk about a little bit today. And I have been teaching for University of Phoenix for only about 6 months, and really enjoying that.
You've taught a couple of flex classes, is that right?
I taught a flex class, yeah.
Aren't you getting ready to teach an on-ground class?
If you say so.
I thought I had talked you into doing an on-ground
Yeah,
class.
I'm still thinking about it, yeah.
I've been trying to talk you into teaching an on-ground class. That's what it is.
Yeah.
All
It's
right.
daunting. 4 hours every week.
Pete, is it hard?
Yes, it's excruciatingly difficult. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's not that hard.
It is not that hard.
No.
It actually flies by.
It
After
does.
the first week,
Yeah.
you realize that you don't have enough time.
Yeah.
The soapbox is only so high, I mean, I got a lot of propaganda I need to spill in those 5 weeks. It's not long enough.
Well, then you guys don't need me.
No, we need you.
We need you. I am evidence that we need you.
Yeah, clearly. Save me. Clay, what about you?
I've founded Speak Shop with Cindy and been teaching. I haven't taught. I've gone through the training, but have not taught an in-person class. Went through training about 6 months ago. Been teaching online for 5 years.
Oh my God.
Oh, old
Done
hat.
several dozen classes. Yeah.
What were you guys doing before you started Speak Shop? What?
Well, let's see. I did a little bit of corporate work early in my career. Like I'm, nearing retirement.
Yeah, exactly.
now,
What was
actually.
that, like 2 years ago?
So, like straight out of college, I did some marketing research, international marketing. I worked with Nike for a couple of years here in Beaverton, Oregon, and it was a really cool job because I got to work with Latin America, and I have a bicultural background. I'm Brazilian American. And that was fun. And then I went to grad school because I really wanted to use business for social good. And so I decided if I got an MBA, people actually would think I knew what I was talking about, and I could sort of fit into the business world and take the tools of business and sort of the funding behind business and try to do some good with that. And I really wanted to do international development through social entrepreneurship, and that's kind of what Speak Shop tries to do. So it all came together. And then I did some work in some nonprofits after grad school relating to that topic, business for social good, that kind of thing. Doing marketing and program management and things like that.
That's cool.
That's cool.
Well, that's very cool. And we were talking before we got on the show, but you speak like 1 million languages, right?
I'm so embarrassed. I only speak 3.
Only 3. We who are Native Americans, we're like, we can barely speak 1.
Yeah.
And I only speak 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And the only Spanish I know is dos coronas, por favor. That's it.
Yeah, that's about it for me. ¿Dónde está la oficina de cambiar? Right? Where's the exchange office? That's all it is. How to exchange money. That's all I learned from my book on
Dos
tape.
coronas. Yeah.
I think you learned the more important Spanish.
I only got to focus on the key things. Just all the frivolous stuff we don't worry about. So, Clay, what were you doing before Speak Shop? Tell me about that.
So I actually did the corporate thing for quite a while. I was a stockbroker for a couple of years in Spokane, and that was all right. But then I moved over to Charles Schwab and traded bonds for a little while, and then moved into marketing and went to graduate school in the middle there. But worked for Charles Schwab for about 10 years, and really enjoyed working there actually. And then, but I think like Cindy, I just really didn't fit into that corporate mold too well. It felt like running my own business made a little bit more sense.
Why?
Maybe it's because I don't really take direction very well from people. You get tired of being told what to do, that sort of thing.
I see.
It really did come down. I wanted to run my own business. I wanted to make the decisions and be accountable for it. I got tired of other people making decisions that really impacted my life. I was committed to Schwab. I really loved working there. But then I felt like there were people making decisions that I didn't agree with in terms of how the company should be run and how it should operate. And so I figured, well, if I'm going to go ahead and think these things, I should either go prove it or shut up, sort of a deal. So I wanted to go and start my own business. And, kind of what Cindy touched on just a little bit, running my own business was fine, but I also felt like I wanted to making money just wasn't enough motivation for me. So that's why we kind of created Speak Shop with this social aspect of it to try and also help other people. I guess the best way to say it is to really earn a wage that the marketplace would bear.
So what does Speak Shop do specifically?
Well, if you're a student and you want to learn to speak Spanish, you can come to our website. You can.
So I'm in the United States and I want to learn to speak Spanish.
Exactly.
Right? And I don't necessarily have to be a student at the University of Phoenix. I could be anybody off the street.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Pretty much any age.
Any age, yep. And you can come to our website. You need to have high-speed internet access to really use our service well. But then you can come in and you can open up an account, and we have a number of Spanish tutors there that you can review their profile, look at how much experience they have, how often they've taught Spanish, for how long. And you select a Spanish tutor, and then you make a reservation with them. You pay them online, and then you can have a video conference session with that Spanish instructor, and they will go ahead and teach you Spanish for that 1 hour. You can set up a program with them, but these Spanish instructors are located in Guatemala. They are university educated. They've been teaching Spanish for 5 to 15 years, one-on-one immersion program. So they're very good, very well-qualified, very, very skilled instructors. They're not just people off the street. They're people who actually know how to teach. And that's, I think, the great thing about this, is it's not just some guy who knows Spanish and wants to try and teach Spanish. I can't teach English. I can speak English really well, but I can't teach English. And these women who are located in Guatemala are very good at it.
So it's kind of also, the concept of it is sort of a little bit of a takeoff on eBay, where the tutors are sort of micro entrepreneurs. They now have a tool whereby they can sell their services that they're skilled at through the internet. And
so they're not employees of Speak Shop.
They're not employees of Speak Shop.
Contractors.
That's right. So we help them. We provide them with training on both online teaching as well as business and marketing to really empower them to become more like entrepreneurs. And all of our tutors are women. We would take men too, but we've started with women, and this is a really interesting thing for them to do, to start their own little business.
Is there a reason you started with women?
There is, but yeah. So they set their own rates and their own hours. They program themselves in their calendar online, and then have little marketing templates they can use with their students and things like that. And we started with women just basically because of good luck.
But it is an industry that's dominated by women. Teaching is dominated in almost all Central America by women. It's a very common profession that gives women an opportunity to really learn a decent wage. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So for those folks who are listening to this and curious, what does this cost me? So I get onto your website, I find a woman I like. That doesn't sound very well.
Well, and I'm looking at the website. The website, by the way, is very cool. It is very retro. Speakshop.com. Got this whole retro sort of, pulling into a 1950s gas station off of Route 66, Very cool.
Thanks. It's Clay's concept.
Yeah, the concept is we're trying to, it's learning in the 21st century through video conferencing, but it's still old school that it's just one-on-one instruction. You're just meeting with one person in person, and that's it.
But the tutors don't look very happy.
Yeah, you need happy
tutors. There's a
tutors.
page on there, and they look to be not very happy.
Yeah.
I think it's part of that
thing.
Latin American sort of, there's a camera, yes,
Yeah.
I am a gargoyle.
We'll give them that feedback.
Don't tell them who it's from. If
Yeah.
you tell them Jamie said you're not very happy, why aren't you very happy?
So cost,
Yes.
though. I
Yeah, please.
I get on, I find myself an instructor that I like. Are they all charging different rates?
Well, that's where we're headed, and that's the idea. And what we want to do is get enough tutors where there will really be great competition amongst them. And there are some tutors who have been teaching for many years who may have a specific background in a particular industry that they can charge a little bit more than other tutors. And right now they charge they're all charging $8 an hour for during the day, and they'll charge maybe $1 or $2 more for evening or weekend lessons. And
Versus like $40, $50.
yeah,
Wow, that's cheap.
Yeah, wait,
It's
say
very
that again.
cheap.
How
Yeah,
much was that?
$8.
$8 an hour?
yeah,
Holy moly.
yeah. That's the amazing thing, and
And that's and I know you're probably taking a cut of that.
That's
like
the question.
$7.50 or something.
Yeah, you guys are like poster children for globalization.
yeah, you tell me $7.50. No, actually, it's a good question. And the way that we do it though is we like we said we haven't talked about it too much, but we create this as a social responsibility sort of thing. So we have broken out their payment goes directly to them, and they have expenses, so they don't clear the $8.
Sure,
but we don't
absolutely.
take any of that. The way that it works is we charge a membership fee to our students. So our students pay us currently it's $10 a month, $9.99, and they can use our service, take as many lessons as they want for $9.99. We're going to change that format a little bit, limited for people who want to take a lot of lessons and whatnot. But so you pay us $10 a month to use our service. And the tutor's $8 every time you take a lesson.
So the service funds the infrastructure,
That pays us, me and Cindy.
pays you guys bandwidth.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. The systems, the website, customer service.
Who's customer service?
You're looking at it.
Customer disservice. No, we do. We try to build relationships with our members. That's really something that's important to us, is sort of trying to be available and kind of create a community with everybody. So
I'm surprised though you're not taking a cut of the $8 or whatever it is.
Yeah,
I think that model probably down the road is where you're going to head.
we had
Just cover your
gone.
expenses.
We've gone through that many, many times in terms of what's the best way to do this pricing structure. And what we found are a couple of things. Is that it does make more sense in terms of people are more used to that sort of concept
model.
of pricing. But we've also found that since we've launched this direction, that our students respond to it really well. And they really enjoy the thought that the money that they're paying goes directly to the tutor.
Mm-hmm.
They really like that concept. And it's an open pricing policy, where if we have other competitors and they come in that they may not be open about their pricing, and they might take $7.50 an hour.
Right.
And that's what our students, they like the fact that they know that $8 goes to the tutor, and they develop. We found really strong loyalty between our students and our tutors because it is one-on-one, and this is your teacher, and people do develop good relationships. And so we were thinking about that other pricing structure, but we've had such good success with this structure, we may stick with it for a while.
Wow, it makes just such intuitive sense to me, from a marketing standpoint, to be able to offer that. I mean, when you talk about that you set up this organization to do social good, and when you can categorically separate the pricing model and say this is infrastructure and this is your service fee and everything else is the relationship between you and this tutor, that's beautiful. I mean, that's really an elegant model.
thanks.
Thank you.
So I think you need to defend yourself a little bit.
Wow.
Jamie wants us to make more money.
Corporate
Yes.
goon.
So I'm going to put my Jamie is fond of making money and tell you that you're leaving a lot of money on the table, and the most efficient way to do it is to take a little bit. And you can separate them out because you can say something like, well, it's $8 an hour, and maybe for every hour you do, there's a $1 administrative fee or something like that. Sure. And so you break it out. You don't hide it, because if you hide it, then you get we get 8 and you get $7.50 and the instructor gets 50 cents, and that's not fair.
Suddenly you're part of the cheap labor model.
Yes, exactly. So you do separate them out as 2 separate fees so people can see that. And maybe you do have to charge some kind of monthly fee to help cover those who are only getting on an hour a month or something like that. But at the same time, you're going to make more money in the long run if you do it by the hour.
Yeah, and I think there is a way to do it. The other thing we found that it's very difficult to, from a payment processing back behind the scenes.
If it's going straight to them now, and you're not handling it. If it were to come to you and then you were to dole it out, then
we don't want to. And it got all kinds of complicated issues in terms of whether or not they become employees, and how do we separate if the payment goes directly to them? It doesn't become a question that they're not employees for us, and so
no, that makes sense.
This has been a good, clean way for us to do this, at least in the short run.
I think it's very cool, though, and what a concept. And you guys are getting students every week? Is that what I hear? You're getting?
Right.
Yeah, we get around.
Yeah. How's your overall membership?
Well, so here's a good lesson, I think, for anybody who's thinking about starting their own business as well. And this goes back to Guy Kawasaki's method of starting a business: build a prototype and make sure it works. People will want it before they go out and dump a bunch of money into it. And so we
because when we started, there wasn't
no idea.
Yeah, we really had no basis of knowing that this was going to work. We thought, we talked to a lot of people who were really skeptical that you could learn a language through computer video conferencing. And then, even during that time, and when Clay even first thought of the idea, which was in 98 when he was in Guatemala, the online voice over internet protocol, video, was not very good, or hardly existent. So
I'll give you a really long answer to that one quick question about how many students we get per week.
Let's just avoid that.
Okay,
no.
Is it more than 5? Can we just nail down?
We get around 3 to 5 students per week, new students per week. But there's a reason for that, and that has to do with the amount of marketing we're doing. And the reason...
The prototype thing.
And it all goes back that we've limited our marketing right now because we're really running off a prototype. And kind of the genesis for the business, quick story, is that I had always really struggled to learn a foreign language. And so I got into graduate school, and I knew I needed to have a foreign language to graduate from graduate school, and that was a real concern for me. So I just said, I'm going to go down to Guatemala, and I'm going to learn an immersion program because that's how everybody says you do it.
Well, that's cool. Just pick up and go.
There I went, and off I went. So I went down, and I studied in Guatemala, and one-on-one instruction, and it took me maybe 2 weeks, and I realized, wow, I am going to learn Spanish through this method. I can do it. And I was 31 years old, so I thought at that point, there's no way I'm going to be able to learn. But then it started to work out for me. Unfortunately, a hurricane came through. Hurricane Mitch came through in 98, and within the area with Guatemala where I was, basically a river of mud came down off the volcano and went through a number of people's homes and then dried up and left about 3 to 4 feet of mud in their homes. So it happened to one of our tutors in the school where I was, and I asked him, I said, hey, do you need any help shoveling your house out or anything? And he said no, but his neighbors might. So we went out and got a look. And it was then that I kind of got out of the city and realized that the poverty levels that people live with in Guatemala, and realized I think I should be able to change this, and I think that people within Guatemala should earn fair wages. And I realized my tutor shows up every day in a very professional manner. He's university educated, and then I started to put together the numbers, and he's earning maybe $1, $1.50 per hour. And I realized to myself, I said, that just doesn't seem fair. Here's a guy, and I was so overwhelmed with joy that I could actually learn a language. I was going to graduate from graduate school. I could make my dreams come true. And here's a guy who worked very hard. And it goes back to, this American ideology that if you work hard, you do a good job, that you should get ahead. And I just saw that this guy wasn't getting ahead, and he was doing all the right things. And really what it came down to was just he didn't have access to enough demand for his product. So simply supply and demand.
Yeah.
And there were lots of people who would love to take a one-on-one lesson, but they weren't going to jump on a plane and go down to Guatemala for 2 or 3 months. It just wasn't going to happen. So, at this point in '98, the internet was just starting to kick in. I had developed some web-based projects for Schwab. In fact, we developed the first bond trading application for the internet. And so I felt pretty comfortable that something like this would evolve. And then so in 2000 started to put together a business plan in terms of how this business might look. And so then after about, I think it was 2004, I became extremely disillusioned with my job and was ready to move on. And we said, hey, let's give this business a try. But the thing is, no one was doing tutoring at the time. Skype hadn't come out. There wasn't really a lot of voice over internet protocol. There wasn't any video conferencing really taking place. And what did exist was that were just cruddy type applications. So I decided I'm going to go ahead and build a prototype at least to try and get this website off the ground. And since no one was doing this, and since we weren't really sure it would work, we said let's not dump a ton of money into it yet. So I found some programmers, one located in India, one located he was in Romania at the time.
Or Italy.
Or Italy,
Romania in Italy.
Yeah. And
anyway, global from the start.
Right. And so I built this program, this business plan, and then I had already been doing some project management, so I could go ahead and put down what it would take to build this web-based application. Got quotes in the United States for $60,000, $80,000. And I said, I'm not willing to take that risk. But then I got quotes from these two guys, in India and Romania, and they were going to charge me $2,500. So, yeah, big difference.
Oh, and you wonder why we outsource.
Yeah,
I mean, really.
And so, and I was skeptical, but I told these guys, I said, you need to show me something first before I'm going to
absolutely
pay anything, even though it might only be $2,500 compared to $60,000. So sure enough, they were able to show me some of the work that they had done, showed me a working video conferencing application that was fantastic. So we started to work on that. It hadn't finished, but we felt pretty comfortable, and we went off to Guatemala and pitched our business, and promptly were told no several times.
Because who did you pitch? Really, yeah. Exactly. I mean, I don't know. My first question here is, if you're having trouble getting, this new technology up and running here at the time, Guatemala?
Yeah.
What infrastructure is there in Guatemala to have the,
Yeah. And we built the idea thinking that really these tutors should only have to have a web-based application. We didn't want them to have to download anything to their computers because we knew the computers there in general weren't very good.
They don't even have,
they don't have
tutors
internet
have internet and computers at home.
But what I did know is when I was down there in '98, the speed of the internet was phenomenal. And I didn't understand really why. But then we went to Costa Rica, and it made sense because in Costa Rica, the internet provider is a government utility, and it's horrible. But you go to Guatemala, totally private enterprise, and you've got every other Tom, Dick, and Harry setting up internet. Phenomenal
because of the tourism
quality.
industry there. Yeah.
Yep.
So your tutors, are they doing things from internet cafes? Are they doing it from their homes, or a little bit of both?
Well, a little bit of both. What we started with when we first went down there is that we tried to get partners with. We said we couldn't find independent tutors to do it because we would be impossible to kind of wire them the money because they didn't have. It would be expensive to wire money to just one person, and they didn't have internet in their own homes or access to it. So we decided we're going to have to meet with a partner. Obvious partner would be like an immersion school. And so we met with a couple of different immersion schools, and they had genuine concerns that, hey, you're going to be stealing our tutors will be independent, they won't need us any longer.
Right.
So, but we found one guy who had already been providing the internet computers to his students and his tutors in his school. And
he was the only one.
He was the only one.
Had that for his tutors.
He was willing to empower his tutors just a little bit so that they could become better instructors, communicate with their ex-students via email. And he's very enterprising, very socially responsible as well in terms of he's out trying to create a number of libraries throughout Guatemala. So he said, let's give this a try. And so he works as a partner with us, and he provides them with internet and computers. And then they pay him 25% of their lessons for overhead, essentially, and wiring and all this stuff. And so that's pretty much how they have internet access now. We got up and running. We started to get a number of students and then realized with our prototype, it just didn't have a number of features that we needed, which were simple things like time zone conversion for scheduling, easy changing cancellation things, all these little things that you would think would, you could only buy one lesson at a time.
Yeah.
So we didn't get that for the $2,500.
It's just real basic prototype. Exactly.
That will be another $25.
So we realized, we got problems, and then
Everything's on a Romanian time zone.
if you want to reserve for Central Time, what time is it?
Romanian -8 GMT.
So we went through all that, and so now we're building a new website, but we couldn't keep up with all the customer questions we were having, so we had to really limit our marketing. And we got it to a point now, 3 to 5 customers per week. It's fine, but we hopefully will be on a new web-based application here in a month. But I've said that for the last 3 months, so we'll see.
And like Clay said, we're kind of in a holding pattern with marketing. I would like to give a shout out to Google AdWords, and Yahoo has the same thing. And really, when we started this thing, we started marketing about a year and a half ago online, and that's just been our main tool, that and word of mouth. And then the tutors have come a tremendous distance from being just passive teachers when we first met them to scheduling test lessons when they have, because what happens is they're teaching people in person, right? So there are people down there taking lessons in immersion at the school where the teachers are. So they have people who are in front of them and are going to go back to their homes in Japan and the US and Canada and the UK. And so while they have them there, they have been showing them test lessons. They'll schedule these lessons so that they can do a demo with SpeakShop before people go back home, so they can keep taking lessons.
That's very cool.
So that's another way that we're getting new students. But honestly, primarily it's the online click ads, and very, very, very minimal. It's something that you can control your expenditure, and it's just been really key as a small entrepreneur to have that, because of course, a few years ago that was
We've almost tried to not do any
available.
sort of
Mass marketing.
because
Right.
we're afraid we'll get too many students and they'll get a bad impression of
Experience.
SpeakShop because we won't be able to provide the customer service, the quality web application. So that's the other great thing about the ads, is that you can monitor how many people you really want per week. If we wanted more, we could just increase the amount we'd be willing to spend on Google Ads and get them through that process.
Yeah, we've done some PR, some press releases and things like that, which help with the organic search engine optimization, so that people can kind of find us just through the regular listing, on the searches versus the paid ads. And that's actually been good too, been really good. So.
Are you making a difference? So the tutors that you're hiring in Guatemala, are you making a difference in their lives?
I think so.
I think so.
It seems, from what they tell us and from the fact that the money they're earning now isn't any money that they would have generated at all. So we haven't taken away from their general salary that they would.
It's new money. It's
absolutely
additional.
new money,
That's right.
and they really only work maybe 3 months out of the year on a consistent basis, because that's when all the tourism comes down. But at the end of the summer, very few people travel to Guatemala, so they don't have income really on a regular basis for about 9 months. And what we are finding right now, we have some tutors. I mean, some tutors don't teach too much. Some tutors teach quite a bit, but we have some tutors who have doubled their salary on a monthly basis.
Yeah, and I think you see things like, they're encouraging their daughters to do it. I think that says something. One of the tutors now has a computer and internet in her home, and that's real change. We're talking a year, so I think that's real change, sort of measurable impact.
Can you give me an idea? $8 an hour. What is that in Guatemala?
Let's see, it's about 8 quetzales to the dollar, right?
Yeah.
But essentially,
Is that a burrito and a Coke, or?
Right.
It's like I went to McDonald's and I bought because they have McDonald's there.
Yeah.
Because I've eaten there, but I think the burger probably
You can get
runs-
trans fat anywhere.
That's right. we ship
Universal.
that
I
everywhere.
think the
but Burger King had the chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah,
so
which was
we went
awesome.
there more.
I think that,
Okay, that's a real shame that we've gone this route.
I know. I think though the Big Mac probably runs 70 cents on the dollar or something like that in Guatemala. I think it was a little bit cheaper, but it was about 70 cents. And that's the only way I can compare
Yeah,
it.
because McDonald's has that. They do that gauge of like,
Yeah.
there's purchasing power parity, and then there's like the McDonald's comparison.
Yeah.
And so that's always a good tool. But
So 70 cents, 70 U.S. dollars.
I'm
70
At
cents
McDonald's.
At McDonald's.
yeah, it does.
And how many
depend.
It's hard to
Guatemalans
say
eat
because
at
they're-
McDonald's?
I mean, you were talking that your tutor when you were there, Clay, was making $1.25 an hour.
Yeah.
So
Suddenly, what you're doing to them for their business is the potential is large.
They're not buying McDonald's. They're living
Yeah.
in a quality of life that in the United States we would consider poverty, without question. You would call it, and these teachers are better off than probably with their current salary, without us helping them, are probably better off than 70% of the population within Guatemala. Wouldn't you say something like that? I don't know the numbers, but we're trying to basically.
It is one of the poorest nations.
One of the
in
poorest
Central
nations. That's unbelievable.
and Latin.
And so, but they have a wage, and they're earning money, and they have a place to live. But we really want to. This is they should be, like I said earlier, they should be living at a middle class lifestyle for the quality of work that they're providing. And that's really all we're trying to try and create is a stronger middle class within these countries. This goes back to what you discussed on your previous Tuesday at noon, where there really is very little middle class in Central America. And this is an opportunity for them to earn a wage that's determined by the market.
And they're operating at two levels in terms of making more per hour, and then, like Clay was saying, having the consistency of wages year-round, and being able to also just connect with a world of students. I mean, it's access to the world market is what it is, and so I think that
How many
changes
tutors do you have
their
now?
stability.
How many contractors do you have right now?
We have about 10 that are trained and able to give lessons, and then there are 20 or 30 that are waiting in the wings for the big boom.
And how are you recruiting tutors right now? I mean, when you went down there for your initial push and you got a bunch of them, and now, are you making regular trips down to Guatemala? And
We were there in May, and we were celebrating our first year together, and that was great. And basically what happens is there are other tutors at this school who wanted to meet with us and are interested in tutoring online. So we did have in-person interviews with them. But that's been sort of, in that particular school, that's been the pipeline, is that they have tutors that are teaching in person. And so there's a little self-selection, tutors who are interested in doing it, and then a little bit of, checks and balances in terms of the people we work with already know the good tutors. And so they together kind of do the pre-screening, and then we meet with all of the tutors before they can teach online, and have conversations with them, discuss expectations and things like that. And then if they go through the process and want to teach online, then they will get trained online for several hours before they meet with a real student. And we provide them with, the materials we've developed in terms of like best practices and tools and things like that they can use, marketing emails, things like that.
And we also, so if a student comes in, we've done some pre-screening, made sure that they're qualified, they're good instructors, but then also the student's able to provide feedback at the end of each lesson. So if you come in and you're doing your tutor selection, you can see what other students have posted on a 1 to 5 scale, and then also any comments.
it's wonderful. I just I was just past the secret test code to get in and be able to look at this.
I didn't want to say that out loud.
Yes, and nor would I want to make a mistake and read
At least
this.
you didn't roll it in a lip smack like Mary did. Yeah. I don't know if you listened to that episode. Mary was talking about passing notes in high school using the lip smack tube. So
That's right. Yes.
I didn't
Really
know that.
miscreant,
No wonder I got
absolute
caught.
renegade. Yeah. Well, I mean, the interface is just very intuitive. I mean, it makes sense when you're looking at it. You see the tutors, you see their experience, how long they've been teaching. Let's see, where was I? I was just there, and
can I really learn Spanish? So if I don't know a lick of Spanish, and can I learn it
I don't know
well
about
enough?
you, Jamie, but
I
That
think,
goes without saying.
I think about
Yeah.
Kevin all
Yeah,
the time.
Kevin,
He's
yeah.
Lauren's dad, and he is, I would say, 60. He's retired. isn't he?
yeah.
And so, and he really...
Not that Jamie's 60 or
No,
retired.
I know.
But I'm trying to
Thank
give
you,
a good
but yeah,
example
no,
of somebody
thanks.
who's...
He was intimidated.
He was intimidated, and he was not skilled in using even the internet or a computer, so this was really new to him. And he came in, he barely spoke any Spanish, But his daughter was down in Central America in a couple different countries. He wanted to go visit her. Mm-hmm. So he's decided he was going to start taking lessons with us. And he took a few lessons each week, 1 hour lessons a few times for about a month or so. And then he went down to Bolivia to visit his daughter. He came back and he wrote me this note and he said, Clay.
I think it was Mexico.
Oh, maybe it was Mexico.
Okay.
Anyway, they spoke Spanish. And he goes
and
down.
The gloves come off.
So they go down there. He goes down there, and he's visiting Lauren, and he writes me, and he said, the thing is, I was feeling more comfortable with my Spanish, but I didn't know how well I spoke it until I was in the cab. And the cab driver took a wrong turn and wasn't going to my hotel, and I was able to talk to him and correct him and tell him how to go where I wanted to be. And he said, at that point, I felt so much more comfortable and confident to be able to travel in Spanish-speaking countries.
That is awesome.
Mexico or Bolivia.
That is really cool.
It is really cool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it all depends on how much work and effort you want to put into it, but just from his experience to be able to tell me that, it was nice to know it really is effective.
Yeah, the thing is, I mean, the tutors are using time-tested techniques. That's hard to say, time-tested techniques. They've been doing this immersion-style tutoring in person for 20 years. I mean, not all of them have 20 years experience, but, you know, this technique has been used for 20, 30 years. And it's evolved, and it works for any level. Because it's something that it just integrates so many different sort of learning styles and learning mechanisms, and it's such an active thinking process. It's not just passively reading something or listening to somebody and just taking it in. You're engaging your brain and you're problem solving, and that just seems to create these stronger connections in your mind and your ability to retain that information.
Do they give you exercises to do between lessons?
We do a couple of things. Right now they send emails, but in our new system, we're going to have over 60, maybe 70 different grammar lessons that they cover, and then there'll be vocabulary and quizzes, and so it'll be. We're trying to get to a point where it's all online. They don't need to email you homework type assignments. The thing is
but
that
they do that.
They will do that, absolutely. And to your point, where there are grammar lessons that need to be taught, but the great thing about this is in having a one-on-one instruction is they're teaching you. Everybody has a specific point that they might not fully understand or grasp, and so they have the flexibility then to change the topic for that particular day. They don't have to finish a particular lesson. They can start talking to you about why you don't understand.
Yeah, well, that's like the medical professionals that use SpeakShop really like it because. So the really cool thing is not only is it totally customized to where you might have issues and your sort of style, and there's the audio, there's video, there's a text chat, all of that's going on. Your mind is thinking, and then they can do things like role play. So doctors have told us they really like that because then the student, the doctor can play doctor, and the tutor is the patient, right? So
Jamie's looking at me. He's got like
nothing.
15 jokes right there,
they're all waiting
and
to come
I'm
out.
saying, don't say a word. For the love of God, don't say anything.
Not saying a word.
So
you were saying
the point is that the tutor can take on the role of a patient, so they can express pain or various symptoms and things like that, and have that kind of a dialogue where the student, the doctor,
you
is
can
doing
inject
real,
that sort of reality.
Yeah, real
into it.
Contextual role playing kind of situation. Like if you went to Guatemala, you might take a cooking class with your tutor.
Cooking is better.
Cooking is less.
It's not nearly as fun as playing doctor. Come on.
You're playing chef.
Yeah, do you want to play chef or play doctor? Chef
Totally
or play doctor?
Innocent.
Okay.
So,
I'm
really glad that I'm talking right now. Somebody else.
I have another question. Are you going to do other languages?
Yes.
That's what we plan to do.
What are you doing next?
What do you want?
Well, are you going to go Portuguese?
I would love to go Portuguese.
I would love to go Portuguese.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's an easier transition for us because we're still small. And so it's, we have to speak Spanish every single day with our instructors. And to bring on people who speak Portuguese, it would be great as well. The tutors will speak some English, but they try very hard not to speak English, especially when they're teaching, because it's most language instructors, they'll try and force their students to really try and think of ways to say it in that language. So Portuguese, We're hearing a lot about Chinese.
Chinese, that was
Yeah,
good.
Chinese, that was the
thing.
next one, yeah.
I think one thing that we found, which is very interesting, though, that we are really going after the adult market right now, and maybe in the future it'd be, it's easier, it's more complicated to get into K through 12 just because there are so many regulations and whatnot. We see that we could be a great complementary service for students who want to learn to speak another language, but it comes down to people who really need to learn the language almost sometimes. There are lots of people who want to learn the language, but I want to learn to play the guitar, and it sits in the corner all day long. So it's
until you
I
have
got
to
him.
learn the
I
guitar.
got him that guitar.
exactly.
It looks nice in the
I got
corner.
him lessons.
It looks good
Still.
over there. Yeah.
And it was, so there are lots of people who have to learn to speak Spanish, and I think there's going to be a point where people have to learn to speak Chinese, but it hasn't quite gotten to that point.
Spanish is big for us just because of the population mix we have now, and so
Yeah.
it's becoming more and more important.
And I think that addresses exactly that point that, today now Spanish is critical for us to have a working knowledge of. And in 20 years, Chinese will probably, be that next language for us to understand.
It's very cool.
This is so cool. And, guitarshop.com. I can see, you got your video, you got your tutorial. I can see that coming.
It would be easier, though. I mean, that's part of the hassle of having to drive over to some place and meet with the guy and schedule with that guy one-on-one and getting a hold of him. So this is we're trying to take some of that. That's what people deal with. One-on-one in person is better, no question. But it's more expensive. It's inconvenient. And that's what we're trying to do is eliminate that for people who want to learn to speak Spanish. Keep it real convenient, keep it inexpensive.
Yeah, it is really easy because you can do the day before, you can schedule a lesson for the next day. If you want to do 3 lessons this week and then next week, you can do whatever you want.
Is that your intent? What is your intent with somebody? If I were to come, I speak, one sentence of Spanish. And apparently my name is Pedro. That's about as far as I go. What is your intent with somebody like me who needs to learn Spanish? Do I use this as every other day, get on with my tutor and drive me through lessons through fluency? Or is this a supplementary program? And what is your intent with the new user?
Well, we'd like to get to the point where absolute beginners can learn to speak
like
Spanish.
nuts and bolts.
Nuts and bolts. And the thing is,
Or nuts
I didn't
to
speak
bolts.
any Spanish.
Nuts through bolts.
What is it? Nuts to...
Nuts to soup.
Soup to
Soup
nuts.
to
Soup
nuts.
to nuts, yeah.
Or nuts to bolts.
Whatever.
It's brand new.
Soup and
English-
a salad.
English
Whatever
is my-
floats your boat.
is my second language, That's with ESL as a
The
kid.
expressions are
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
still learning that.
Those come with more difficulty. Go
Yeah,
on.
but I think what happens is we find people who speak a little bit of Spanish do better when they come to our website, but only because I think people who don't speak any Spanish get a little overwhelmed a little bit, and it kind of throws them off a bit. And you need to have a lot of patience with yourself, that it's going to just take some time to learn to speak Spanish. I learned from scratch, and so I know you can do it. It's just a matter of you have to just sit down and patiently, they'll try and get you to talk and
It's
speak in
actually
Spanish.
kind of fun, though.
It is fun.
Yeah, I think we get a lot of people, you can see, if you go in our lounge, there are comments from people who I think are kind of almost startled that it works and that it's fun, and they develop friendships with their tutors. And
We had
it is-
people go down there and take one-on-one in person because they
it's a
enjoyed it so
social,
much. They would have
it's
never
a
gone
social
down there
thing,
before.
too, it's fun.
So
Talking to
adults
somebody.
can learn a second language. Is that? There's this whole thing.
I'm living proof.
There's
Absolutely.
a saying: you can't teach an old dog new
Yeah.
tricks.
Clay's an old dog. He
Yeah.
learned it.
It's true, though. It's true. I was genuinely one of those people who thought I would never, ever be able to speak a foreign
Because you
language.
tried.
Oh, I had
Tried
tried.
and
And failed.
Yeah.
In flames. Yeah.
Soup to boats. That is wonderful. What a great example of a cool technology
how do we get
company
some
that's
cheap shares?
doing good stuff.
That's what I want to know. How
Yeah.
do we get cheap shares
They're
at
really
your
cheap
place?
right now.
Yeah,
It's a
Just
good
not for
question, though.
sale.
These things always come up in terms of whether or not we should go out and get
Yeah.
investors or stay small. And so, we at this point, you do have to give away, and you probably know this, you have to give away quite a bit when you try and get investors, and especially if you don't have something that's really proven. And so we've thought about it, and we'd like to get to that point. If we could prove it more, it'll help us retain more of the ownership. And so we haven't really...
I think the other thing, too, is because we have such a strong social mission, and I've done a lot of work in that field of sort of the social enterprise or socially responsible business or social ventures and things like that. And there's this constant pressure between making money and making a social impact, and sometimes the two don't meet. And sometimes if you have an investor, they may disagree with you about which is more important, especially, because
Especially an institutional investor that puts a lot of money.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So they have a fiduciary responsibility to the money. So, those are things that we contemplate too.
I think that this is the coolest thing
Oh,
since sliced bread.
it is really cool. This is a great example of a cool
See, I'm using all
technology
these
company.
phrases. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'll look it up later.
Clay's going to have to slice bread. Yeah, never mind.
See,
Yeah.
bread used to come as well.
Yeah, bread used to be a big loaf, and then somebody like, woo, look at that.
That's all right. That's all right. I'll test you in your Spanish later.
Okay.
I have no idea where soup to nuts came from, though.
Yeah, come on. You can't blame me. It makes
I
no
don't know.
sense, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
It does to somebody.
Somebody
But
does.
anyway, it is really cool, and I'm so glad you guys are here teaching for us, and that you are you're doing it in real life. This is fascinating to watch this
Very,
happen
very
as a little
interesting.
microcosm, and we're very interested to see how this works, and really appreciate you taking the time to come sit down with us and tell us your story. This is great.
You'll come back on as you progress and
Yeah.
talk
Sure,
about
yeah.
that.
It's
and,
been really fun. Thanks for having
Hopefully
us.
we'll be around.
and that's sheep.
Hopefully Speak Shop will be around.
Sheep shop.
Sorry.
Speak shop.
Easy to
Me
say.
talk pretty one day. Is that speakshop.com, and you guys have email addresses on the site that they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, Cindy at
Should
Speak
they-
Shop, Clay at Speak Shop.
Clay at Speak Shop. Easy enough.
Yep.
Excellent. Well, this has been very
Very
interesting.
good.
Jamie, I am disappointed Mary wasn't here, and I'm sure she's agonizing as she listens to this.
Yes, but we
We're
did-
sorry,
we
Mary, we
did
missed you,
good.
but I think we did okay. We kept the house up, and this has been great. Learned
great.
a lot.
Thanks,
Thanks, you
everybody.
guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
This is great.
And this
Thank
has
you
been
very much for
another
having me.
Tuesday Noon. Thanks so much.
As
and
Mary
we'll
says.
see you next week.
We're out.
We're out. This has been Tuesday Noon for October 3rd, 2006, a service of University of Phoenix. For more information on the show, catch up with us on our website at www.tuesday12.com and write us at the show at tuesday12.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back next week on Tuesday Noon.